Like you said, 275 pounds, and Invader 3 is in pain.
And
he is seriously hurt.
Injured, severely
he is injured. Ricky Rodriguez wants to stop him. Look, the blood is just coming up like showers.
Greetings, wrestling purists. Hutch Henry's here. Thanks for joining us. We're going to do a little random rant once again. And if you watched AEW the other day, you saw Kenny Omega pulling an Invader 1, spitting up blood like crazy. Now, I am not sure if a lot of people know that this is pretty much a direct ripoff of Invader 1 and Manny Fernandez at WWC in Puerto Rico.
Like usual, you were a little bit wrong in a couple of your comments.
After Invader 1, Jose Gonzalez stabbed Bruiser Brody in 1988, unfortunately resulting in the death of Frank, of Bruiser Brody. They kind of recreated the angle in like a way Manny Fernandez was getting revenge for Bruiser Brody. And there was an angle where he like repeatedly gave him elbow drops or stomps or something, repeated top rope moves to the Invader, and he started spitting up like massive amounts of blood, just like Kenny Omega, and like almost a comically large amount of blood. But he did a pretty good job of like spitting it out upon impact. It looked great. And this was widely thought of for a while as the revenge. Manny Fernandez getting revenge for Bruiser Brody for everybody on account of Frank. And it was obviously a work, but it was pretty cool. I will link that match here. Maybe I'll upload it to the channel itself. Maybe we'll do a review on that match. But pretty fun stuff there. Okada, I got to admit, where when Kenny Omega's like, I know all your tricks, Callis. You can't fool me. He's like, you don't know this one. And the Okada turn. A few people thought there was going to be like a tag match. They were going to like team up against like Fletcher and Takeshita. And they were going to kind of like, you know, one last time, the two of us, 7 years later, they were kind of coming together. You know, he'd been separating himself. Okada had been separating himself from the Elite for a while. We hadn't really seen them together for weeks and weeks, if not more. And I think this was a bit of a swerve, and it certainly was. I know I was a little bit fooled. I kind of thought about it for a second, but then I started in my mind leaning into perhaps them like teaming up or whatnot. But this was great. You gotta love that shit. AEW does, you know, people say they have no storylines, and they might be a little more slapdash and a little more fly by the seat of your pants and a little more like random video game booking or New Japan booking. You got to understand that Tony Khan is a massive indie wrestling fan, so he sometimes books like indie companies. I can put two random name wrestlers together that don't really match or from weird places, and people will be like, oh my God, dream match, dream match. Yet, if Tony Khan does that on his undercard, people like kind of shit on it, you know? But if I brought in like Commander and put him against Zack Sabre Jr., yeah, that'd be pretty freaking weird. But as my main event on an indie show, people might be like, that's pretty cool. But Tony Khan does it, and some people still think it's cool. Obviously, the sickos, I think that might be the first time I've used that word. The sickos like it. But, you know, wrestling reviewers and traditionalists and non-AEW like supermarks, they're like, this is stupid. And I disagree with that. You got to look. It's almost like you can split up these long Tony Khan cards into like 3 cards and imagine that this is your main event. Your 5th match of the night is your main event of the first card out of his 15 matches. You know, if you think of it that way, because I kind of watch them that way. I don't often ingest the entire show in one go. And then I like it. It's better that way. I mean, Tony, I don't know if you should, I'm sure somebody in your life is trying to give you this advice to a degree. But anyways, if you take it that way yourself personally, really, it's almost like you've just got a week's worth of pay-per-views. You just split them up throughout the week. But AEW, spitting up blood, good stuff. Speaking of spitting up blood or bleeding, I think WWE might be making a big mistake, and they're going to bleed out one of their greatest talents ever, Karrion Kross. Now, supposedly there's going to be a lot of releases coming perhaps even tonight after SmackDown or this weekend. And hopefully Karrion Kross is not a member of those releases. And I got to tell you, Karrion Kross could be Tony Khan's CM Punk, his new Cody Rhodes. Now, what I mean by that is the way that WWE has used Cody Rhodes and CM Punk. You know, people say they've thrown it in Tony Khan's face, and the way that they've presented Penta. Like, WWE knows how to make stars out of the guys that Tony Khan fumbles. Tony fumbled. Clap, 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 Tony fumbled. So, Tony Khan has a chance here. If Karrion Kross leaves WWE and is willing to sign with AEW, I mean, this guy's recently made his documentary. He's had one of the top-selling T-shirts recently. The shoot interview he did over, or like the shoot promo, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, when he went off on WrestleMania weekend. I mean, he has become popular in the underground. People want to see Kross. People love Bloodsport. He's a really fucking cool dude. He is awesome. And WWE is seriously dropping the ball here. Now, it might be the kind of guy where, in the 90s, they say grab the brass ring. I think Karrion Kross, we'll respect him. We'll say, I shouldn't say Killer Kross because I'll get, you can't have those words on YouTube, right? Okay, so we'll go with Karrion. He might be smart to actually stick with a name like that instead of going to his indie name so that people can promote him more. But in general, if Tony Khan can get Karrion Kross, he's a cool dude. And like what I was saying there about the brass ring, I think WWE is now offended by the brass ring type guys. Karrion's going to bring ideas, want ideas. He's going to be hungry. He's going to be motivated. And I think that they're annoyed by that. The same way that supposedly Triple H is annoyed by this whole R-Truth thing and Truth coming back and the fans pushing it. And honestly, it's his own fault. He should have done this before Truth did. They are the Ron Killings angle. I didn't do a recording about this. I wanted to. I scripted out some bullet points and I never got around to it. I've been very busy. That's why videos on this channel are so sporadic. But I was going to do a video before he came out and turned, before the Saturday Night Live main event even, about, hey, he shouldn't be going goofy. He should be like the voice of us. After John shat on him or beat him up at the press conference or whatever he did to spark the match, I can't recall. I remember thinking that Truth should be like, yo, hey, what's wrong? What's wrong with you? I loved you. We love you. And Truth can get angry. And we could have had a real main event. I was going to do a little thing about it. But it's nice to see that he's doing it after the fact. And he's going to get a run out of it and, a new contract and everything. But Triple H could have condensed this entire new run into 2 weeks of programming and then had it become loser leaves town. John Cena's all right, I'm going to get you out of here. You win my title or you're gone, or I'm going to get rid of you. And somehow they get rid of him, it could have, everybody's been talking about how they should have made it loser leaves town, or they could have done something different. But in my opinion, I was already thinking that they should have turned him serious and made him angry and be the voice of the people, be the voice of the kids that John Cena was pointing at, the dysfunctional relationship kids. And Truth could be their voice being screw you, man. And then Saturday Night's main event, the voice of the children, R-Truth coming with his hard edge and different mentality after John Cena. That could have been a whole program right there, just boom, and then it would have been over. But now Truth's got a whole contract out of this thing, so good for him. But where were we going? Karrion Kross. Tony Khan has an opportunity here to study what WWE did, take a step back, stop being such an Adderall-riddled freaking weirdo, and take his time and allow Karrion Kross to get over the way CM Punk was getting over in his company, the way that WWE has gotten over Penta and Cody and CM Punk upon their return. Not that Punk needed much help, but you see what I mean. The popular vernacular is that WWE knows how to make stars and Tony Khan doesn't. Now, if you're a sicko watching this, you're going to think that that's an erroneous statement, and I kind of agree. I was earlier in this video saying that Tony Khan's a little more like video gamey and slapdash and indie booker, but what I didn't say, and I was planning to there, was the fact that they do have a few storylines. I mean, the Swerve and Hangman thing it's not even slow burn booking. It's not like how WWE used to do in the 80s where it would take 6-8 months, where Hogan and Savage, there's a good one. Hogan and Savage went on forever and Lust in Your Eyes, and then the turn on Saturday Night's Main Event, and then WrestleMania 5 after 4, a whole year from 4 to 5. Well, Hangman and Swerve is that and more. It's like a whole soap opera. You have to be watching. Meltzer and Cornette especially. Cornette was who's watching Being the Elite and then expecting plot points from Being the Elite YouTube to be on TV? Well, they're taking their own advice, or Cornette's advice to a degree. They're not changing their tactics, but they're allowing it to be on TV, in my opinion. I must admit, I don't watch every moment of AEW programming. Sue me. But they do have storylines. It's just the one or two that they do have, the stomach ailments of Kenny, coming back, and Okada. But I mean, that's kind of almost obvious and lame stuff. The Swerve and Hangman stuff, and the Ospreay stuff, and Ospreay not being champion. He's going to hold off as long as possible to become champion so that it means something. But they have the opportunity here with Karrion Kross to push it in WWE's face, to say, all right, fine, we've learned, we've changed. Yeah, you know what? We were a new entity. We're still kids. We're still a brand new baby chick that just got hatched from the egg. We are the gobbledygooker of pro wrestling. But you know what? We're going to turn into a majestic eagle one day, and maybe this is the first step. We're going to turn Karrion Kross into a star and a champion, and we are going to make from him what you should have. That's what I think he has the chance to do here. I won't get into too many more details. I don't know, I just had the time to do this video right now, but I didn't bring any notes with me. I remember I had some other stuff written down. But I will talk about the brand new championship, which I believe is being called the Unified Championship. It's a nice looking title belt, supposedly going to be like world champion level title belt. Maybe they will one day unify those belts, but a hell of a lineage there on the Continental title of Eddie Kingston and Okada. Are they still going to do the C2 this year? Are they still going to have a Continental title again when they do the C2 this year? I don't know. You know, people are talking about this unification match in so many ways, and we all know that Tony's had it planned pretty much from the beginning. It's what he's always wanted, is to have this match, and now they've given it some sort of stakes, even though they seem a little wishy-washy. But hey, you know what? Unification match. The international title had some like gravitas to it. It had some importance. It was a decent title. I think getting rid of it might be a mistake, but we'll see in the end run. But are they still going to bring out another Continental Championship? Because I can see how they didn't want to beat Okada to have him lose said belt, but they also don't want to have him in the tournament again. Their only option would have been to have the C2 and then have the winner face Okada and then possibly take the title from him or him lose it to them. But if that was one of your plans or ways that you were going to go, why not just bring it forward a couple months and have Kenny unify and we'll make a new title? And, you know, it's not like they're renaming the international title like they did from All Atlantic. This is going to be a whole new belt, right? But hey, AEW, this is Mark stuff. This is like if you have a video game and you're playing it every day for like a year, and you've twice during that year you've unified some of your titles that you've made randomly here. And like, this is when they say that AEW is the video game of wrestling. I mean, it is. Tony Khan books his whole Wednesday night Dynamite. It was his video program, his video game, his wrestling stuff when he was a kid. And that's how he books. And you know what? As long as we lean into it and see it for what it is, then what's the big deal? We can't all be Jim Cornette. We all can't be hoping. Like, you know, even 15 years ago, I could see where Cornette was coming from. Like, you're killing it, it's worse every day. But, it's 2025. It is really long dead. It's a whole new creature now. Pro wrestling is a whole brand new art form of its own. And people like Cornette are so butthurt about it all. And you know what? So am I. Wrestling was better back in the day. Yes, there was less high flying, less action, almost less drama, because you couldn't be goofy over the top drama without being, okay, this is fake. Couldn't have the Chelsea Greens back then unless she really was a crazy bitch. I think you might know what I'm saying. You know, they were more realistic, obviously. And it was great in so many ways, especially like Southern wrestling. Man, there was such good stuff. But it's not that anymore. It's gone. You know, the same way that the social media, you know, everything that's happening on every corner of the world, and it's changed how women interact with men and men interact with women, and how countries interact with each other, and how we all perceive things, and how you're supposed to keep wrestling quiet. Give me a break. That's gonna take a lot of money and a lot of moolah to keep that quiet, and you can't do that in the internet age. You know what I'm saying, Cornette? So it's a whole new art form, so you got to lean into it. And AEW's version of it is the video game version, and that's just the way it is. And unfortunately, WWE's version now is super corporate. If Triple H is gone in the next 6 months, 18 months, something like that, and there's literally no like really wrestling people in there anymore, it's mostly, dude, it's already that way. WWE's dead. It's gone. It's a whole new entity. And just like WCW, believe it or not, one day it could be sold off. TKO is billions of dollars in debt. That's why they're slapping everything with all these logos and sponsorships and all that stuff. One day they could actually sell off WWE to somebody. Be like, oh, you can't get rid of it. It's a liability. You know, you got to think like a corporate empire type person. You got to think like a Zaslav. And they don't think the way you and I do. Just because you like William Regal, if you use him in your campaigns on your video game, you might not win. You got to pick Roman Reigns. You got to pick the strong guys, right? So Zaslav is like, I don't care if I like it, if it ain't making money, bottom line. He's more ruthless than you and I could ever freaking be. You know what I mean? These type of people. But so it's already dead. And I think AAA is dead too. I think a lot of stuff is dead. Wrestling, like AEW, might actually in the end run be the only real grassroots thing. Sure, Tony's a billionaire, but at least he's a man who owns his business and will probably never sell it. If he loses TV, he'll be making his own streaming services for the shit. Like, it's not going to go away. WWE now, believe it or not, one day could go away. or could get sold off to somebody as a library, or as a chunk to somebody else, like a Chris Jericho type person, a former wrestler, or somebody else that has interest that wants to take it on. What's the pillow guy, or like a Court Bauer type. I'll buy the trademarks and I'll buy the library, and okay. Bam, or a Tony Khan type. Whoa, there's a mind fuck. Imagine Tony Khan one day actually bought WWE. It sounds crazy right now, but it could happen, because Tony Khan is now the Vince McMahon. He's the single entity, he's the man with all the money, and WWE is now the corporate-owned entity that could one day become a liability. Boom, could happen. I love these stream of consciousness random rants. I didn't actually think about any of this stuff beforehand, but I'm going to stop right here. If you've been listening, I thank you very, very much, and we'll talk to you very soon. And we're going to get you some more documentary-style videos coming up as well. Please like, subscribe. Thank you so much for still being here for the last few moments of this video, and we will talk to you very, very soon.